Hello and welcome to a special live edition of the Big Recon on Sports podcast. It is Sunday, July the 5th, 2020, and I hope everyone had a great 4th. Everyone still has all their digits. That would be a good thing as well. As always, as I've been saying for the last few weeks, the Big Recon on Sports is now a proud member of the Time Skew Podcast Network. Moreover, baseball season is here. It is finally time to talk about the most beautiful game on the planet, and I brought the boys back just for everybody. So I'm going to bring in Alex from the Row 7 podcast and, of course, my boy Tone from the Cardboard and Crackerjacks podcast all the way out in beautiful Windy City, Chicago, Illinois. Gentlemen, how was the 4th?
Excellent.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was good. Can't complain. Good seeing you. Good being here again. Alex, good seeing you too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again for having us on board.
No problem. Boys, you guys love talking baseball like I do. This is a pleasure for me that you will never understand. So I wanted to hit on a couple things before we dove into this coming season, which, by the way, looks like it's going to happen. We've had some positive tests. We've had guys opt out of the season. We've also had our first horrific injury of the season. I don't know if you guys saw, but Masahiro Tanaka took a Giancarlo Stanton line drive to the dome the other day. Mild concussion. He's good. Obviously, they're going to play that as safe as they can. So I wanted to hit on two things first. One is dealing with – actually, both are dealing with baseball history, and one is just to get this out there for the millionth time with me. First things first. Today, 73 years ago, July 5th, 1947, Larry Doby breaks the color line in the American League when he takes the outfield for the Cleveland Indians. Doby is an icon in Cleveland. He broke in 47. They win the World Series in 48, and he goes back to the World Series with them in 1954. He is one of the retired numbers on the wall. I also don't think Larry gets enough credit. I mean, Jackie did the big thing. Jackie broke the whole thing open. But the American League did take an extra couple of months, and that was Doby who had to go through those cities as the first man of color to play in the major leagues. So that was the big one. And the second one, we all know July 1st is Bobby Bonilla Day. Okay, first of all, I'll put this out there. Bruce Suter's been getting paid by the Braves since the mid-'80s. His last payments in a couple years, they're going to end up paying him like 50 or 60 some odd $1 million. So here's the Bobby Bonilla thing I was mentioned to you on Twitter the other day, Alex. When Bonilla came back to the Mets in 99, they ran him for the stretch run. They get to the LCS against Atlanta. Steve Phillips knew he needed pitching and he needed to clear payroll because they had just paid Piazza. They had brought in Ventura that offseason. They paid Al Leiter. So he made this deal with Bonilla to basically get out of town, go away. With the money they saved, they made a trade with the Houston Astros. The two main pieces from the Mets that went were pitcher Octavio Dotel and outfielder Roger Cedeno. The Mets get back Derek Bell and Mike Hampton. Well, it worked. They win the pennant. They go to the World Series. They play against the Yankees. Mike Hampton decides to leave to go to Colorado. The Mets are given a compensatory pick in between the first and second rounds, and they take third baseman David Allen Wright from Virginia with the 38th overall pick in 2001. You pay Bobby Bonilla for the rest of his life. I don't care. We got the captain. That's all that matters. That's how the Mets got David Wright. So make fun of Bobby Bo all you want. David Wright's here. David Wright rewrote the Met record books, won us another pennant, another division title. I'll take it. So I promised the story.
Fair enough. There it goes.
Yeah. I think the Bonilla story is one of my favorite in baseball. I didn't know that the David Wright draft pick came of it, so I think that's incredible for Mets fans. It's a great piece of Mets history to know, and I think it ended up being well. I would pay Bonilla what he's getting the rest of his contract for David Wright as well.
That's why Met fans don't care, to be very honest with you. I mean, once it got out there that was basically the dominoes that led to this, everybody's like, so?
Everyone just wants to rip on him. You know, they don't share the whole story. They just share a headline of the story.
Well, they also don't share that there's plenty of other guys. Like I said, Bruce Suter's still getting paid. Of course, the Mets are still paying Brett Saberhagen too. But there are other guys. I think Pujols is going to get another $5 million a year for 10 years after he's done.
Oh, yeah.
With the deal that he's got set up. Pat
That's
McAfee.
definitely a nasty deal that the Angels got kind of shafted on.
I don't know. If you look at his numbers, he's not as bad as people think he is. He's had some
No,
injuries.
no, you're right, and I know. I mean, but his glory days were obviously in St. Louis, though. So
Oh, absolutely.
He's still a good number 5 hitter right now. He puts up around, 75, 100 ribbies, 25, 30 long balls, bats about 250, 260 nowadays, which isn't, as Alex said, as glorified as his Cardinals days, but he's still producing. Probably not for his contract, but, everyone in baseball seems to get overpaid.
Oh, agreed. And now he's going to hit farther down the lineup because Otani's healthy. Trout may opt out from what I saw because he's got the baby on the way.
Yep.
But Otani's back. Anthony Rendon is there now. I mean, Pujols could have a huge year, and no one will bat an eyelash about it.
I think there's a lot of oversight with the Angels because nobody remembers that Anthony Rendon is not now a cog in their lineup.
See, that's why I mentioned when we were talking before we went on about the power rankings. Because here's something I saw. Now, yes, the Yankees and the Dodgers, and they're all at the top of the list. Here's what kills me. The Washington Nationals are 8th in the power rankings. My question to you, gentlemen, is how?
The only reason why is probably because they're the defending champions. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how baseball plays out. I think some people may say that's too low. Some people may say that's too high for the Nationals. It'll be interesting to see how they come out and compete this year. As we know, last year they didn't fare too well in the beginning of the season. If this was last year, they wouldn't make the playoffs if it were a 60-game season. They would have been neck and neck with the Marlins in last place in their division, actually. So it would be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't think anybody can really predict how these 60 games will play out. I think it gives underdog teams a better chance to win. And I don't know. It's never easy defending a championship. And now the Nationals have Ryan Zimmerman sitting out. And, he's a key cog in their lineup. I just don't see the Nationals being as good this year as they were last year.
Me neither. Alex, what do you think about our defending world champions?
I think they definitely gave them that top, in the top tier nod just because they're reigning defending champions. They lost Rendon, who was, whether you want to believe it or not, is a immense piece to their lineup. So losing somebody like that is definitely gonna hurt. And obviously Ryan Zimmerman, being him in the veteran role that he is, I think that'll hurt as well too. And who knows who else might kind of just say, hey, it's not worth it. I'm going to just sit out 2020.
Yeah, and David Price obviously has already said he's going to sit out 2020, which, again, with the Dodgers, I think they're still up in the top echelon. My whole thing with the Nationals is, and part of this could be that I'm a Met fan and I just cannot stomach them, but you have them in the top 10, but you do, not Paxton, lefty.
Starter?
Patrick Corbin.
Corbin.
Patrick Corbin. He's never thrown that many innings. Scherzer couldn't pitch Game 6 because of his back. Strasburg, every other year, he's got a DL stint in him. And now, you have no protection for Juan Soto. None. You're telling me Howie Kendrick, who's going to have to step in and play first base now probably every day, is protection for Soto from the right side of the batter's box?
Yeah,
no.
probably
Turner's a beast, but where is their protection for Soto and the kid in left field?
Yeah.
I don't see it.
They have decent pieces, but none are those 4 or 5 RBI guys. Victor Robles and Trey Turner are nice top of the order table setters, but without Zimmerman and without Rendon now, they just don't have those big bats to continue after Soto takes an at bat. I wonder how they're going to drive in runs. It'll be interesting to see who steps up. Maybe Carter Keyboom. I heard he might be their starting third baseman this year, so we'll see if Carter Keyboom could step up. I know he was a top prospect last year, came up a little bit, didn't pan out as planned, but it's a new year. Maybe he steps in. If not, it'll be interesting to see who does. Maybe they move a Robles in the 5-hole or something to try and change it up.
Alex, if you're pitching for any of the teams in the Eastern Division or in general, are you pitching to Juan Soto at all?
Oh, I mean, I got to go after him. As cocky as he is, I got to take a shot at him. I mean, it might not be a fastball down the middle, but you can't get punked, you know.
No, I agree. And him taking a ball like that, like I didn't pay much attention when they played the Mets because we had actually a pretty good year against the Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
But when he took a ball call in the World Series, my first thought, I looked at television and I went, "This dude's going to get drilled.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Someone's going to drill him." But yeah, I think my thing with the Nationals, like I said, is I'm a big Met fan, and I can't stomach them. So another team that is looking to get back to the glory are the Houston Astros, or as Gary Cohen called them in spring training, the Houston Astericos.
mm-hmm.
With a smaller sample, 60 games, no Garrett Cole. Does Houston have enough to send people to the MASH unit for getting drilled and still win a division title?
Yes, I think they do, and I think they win that division because, as we said earlier, the Angels are overhyped every year. The Angels are overtalked. They might not have Mike Trout this year. That's a big question mark. They didn't really address their starting pitching all too much. They got Julio Teheran, sure, but we all know he's nothing crazy. So Otani probably won't be too effective, if pitch at all, this year for the Angels. So they're a question mark. The Rangers may have added Corey Kluber, and they added the kid from Minnesota, Kyle Gibson, sure, but the Rangers are always a question mark as well. The Mariners aren't going to be too effective, I don't believe. And the Athletics are always, a Cinderella team, but they're kind of a second half of the year team, so it'll be interesting to see how Oakland comes out in these 60 games because their main push is always around the deadline or after the deadline. So in 60 games, we'll see if Oakland could be a Cinderella story. And I do think Astros, even though they lost Garrett Cole, they lost their manager. Dusty Baker is the perfect manager to go into a situation. He's old, he's a veteran. He's their perfect fit because he doesn't give a crap. He's there to win. He's going to try and win, try and get to the next level, then get out. He's old, he's over 70. He's just going to take what's thrown at him. It is what it is. They have emerging stars like Alex Bregman on their roster that make them that much better. Garrett Cole, his loss hurts, but they do get Lance McCullers back this year. He wasn't.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah, he was hurt last year, so it'll be interesting. It's moving pieces, and as I said before, I do like the Astros' chances, but as I said before as well, in a 60-game season, you never know.
Alex, what do you think of Houston navigating all the garbage and getting back?
I mean, I can say without a doubt there will be a pitcher out there who goes after Bregman, Springer, Yuli Gurriel, whoever may be in their lineup. Altuve for sure. I mean, he's probably going to be the number one on the list. But you got to think that baseball's trying to be proactive and stop that. So whoever does get hit, could potentially get injured, but whoever does the hitting could get suspended. And you think in a 60-game season, it's really not worth the risk. So you're kind of playing with fire if you're an opposing team. And I understand the frustration because, they actively cheated and it was open. So it's a dicey road for them. But to attest the tones, their lineup is stacked. Their offense is insane. Obviously, with them getting McCullers back from Tommy John would definitely be huge, but their pitching is not great. Verlander's kind of getting up there in age, got a lot of innings out of that arm. Greinke, he's good, but there's some days he gets shelled. And I'm guessing you're probably banking on McCullers being your number 3. Outside of that, I don't know who their 4 and 5 are. So their offense will take them to wherever they go, essentially.
Well, they got that young kid who pitched in the World Series and pitched pretty effectively in Washington, and I can't remember his name right now.
I mean, they still got decent ones. I know they could go to a handful of younger guys between Jose Urdique, Framber Valdez, or
Urdique's the one who pitched in the World Series.
Yeah, Peacock ain't bad either. Just none of them are flashy, but they got some arms that could be capable.
Let me ask you this. We're getting into a 60-game season, so you're talking 5-man rotation. In an ideal world, everybody's getting 12 starts.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have any injuries. Is this a year where you would try and protect some younger kids, or you just say, well, you're only going to get, if you average, you're going to get 60, 70 innings this year before the playoffs, It's time to let it all hang out. Alex, I want you to start that one.
Yeah, no, I definitely say you got to air it out. Why not? Why be kind of, if you're going to be in that push and you have a competitive team, I say you got to be all hands on the pot, especially with the fact that injuries could take place and you got to have to step up. And the whole COVID pandemic, let's just say you lose one of your stars, whether you're a pitcher, a reliever, or somebody off the bench that can hit, you got to fill the gaps.
Tone, would you protect the young arm this year, or would you say just go get it?
I agree with Alex. I say go get it. I don't think they're going to pitch nearly as much as they would anyways, even if you're with that go get it all hands in the pot approach. They're only playing 60 of 162, not including the postseason. So even if you go balls to the wall, I know there have been plans of some pitchers going every fourth day. It's going to be all out for everybody this year, and I would use a young guys as much as I would ratioed in a 162 game seasons, and if not, maybe more because it's only 60 games.
Yeah, I mean, with the schedule right now, I think it's 60 games in 70 days, which means 10 games day off, 10 games day off, but you're talking 2 turns through rotation, then an off day. And then you have the expanded rosters, and then you have the DH in both leagues. Yeah, no, I think these guys are going to go after it. No one's going to hit 100 innings unless you go very deep into the new postseason. This is kind of like a just keep your arm warm type of year.
Aside from that, just to kind of double back that point, I think your aces probably most games are going to only pitch 5-6 innings max, unless you're throwing stellar and you're like in the 8th or 9th inning and you got like 60 pitches, then you might do a complete game. But most of these guys, I can't imagine them going 7, 8, 9. That's just my perspective.
I think if they kept the throwing schedule of course, I'm all over social media with all the guys from the Mets. I know Stroman threw every third day when he was in quarantine. I know DeGrom threw every third or fourth day when he was in quarantine. So if they kept the arm strength and the stamina going, I think you can see guys go deeper into games. But no, they'll be on restricted pitch counts, especially because they're trying to ramp it back up in 2 weeks.
True.
Did you guys find out who you open against between either with the White Sox and the Cubs?
No, I don't believe so yet.
I'm taking a shot in the dark, and I'm sorry to cut you off. Probably the White Sox will open up against like the Indians or Royals or somebody, I'm sure.
Well, the Mets open against Atlanta.
Okay.
Because the Premier Series opening weekend is Yankees Nationals.
Yeah, I do. I'm not sure how true, but I think I might have heard Cubs Sox to open up. I think it might be Cubs against the White Sox to open up the year.
That would be cool.
Interesting.
I'm not sure if that's 100% set in stone, but if that is the case, that would be pretty cool. I mean, Cubs Sox, you only get it a couple times a year. Why not open a weird season Cubs Sox and start the Chicago fun right off the bat? And if it were to take place in Chicago, Wrigley Field, at least, I don't know if fans will be allowed in stadiums, but I did hear that about 500 fans will be allowed to attend in rooftops. So it would be cool to see, in Wrigley Field, at least 500 fans in rooftops, Cubs, White Sox. Let's go July 24th.
Exactly. When you're saying the Mets are getting the Braves, who, by the way, no Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, no Will Smith.
Yeah, and he's real sick. And Felix is not playing.
And no Tuki Toussaint either.
Nope. I got to get here. All right, it's universal DH, which means Alex, Tone, and I have to lean on you on this one because we don't know what this is like.
Mm-hmm.
Rooting for a team that has a designated hitter. Do you like? I know I asked you guys this last time, and I think you both said it's about time to come around to universal DH in the big leagues. At least one of you guys did. I can't remember which one it was. Sorry, it's been a fun couple of weeks. I tell you what, though, Cespedes was hitting bombs today.
Is he back and healthy?
Is he healthy? He was playing the outfield today.
Okay.
He'd be a perfect DH for the Mets.
Him or Cano?
Yep.
Yeah, I like this DH thing this year with this team.
Or Dominic Smith, too.
I still say Cano's got to go. You move McNeil to second, you move Alonso to third, and you move put Dom Smith at first base. When Keith Hernandez gives you his defensive seal of approval, you need to play every day.
Yeah, and they need to get Dom Smith in the lineup. I mean, he got cheated a ton of at-bats last year. This kid's an incredible talent, and I hope they don't waste him because he's young and he has a lot of potential ahead of him.
Well, he got hurt last year, too. He had the stress fracture in the foot. Because the GIF I normally share, I know I did the Wilmer Flores one today. The one I normally share, him going crazy, that was the 3-run bomb to end the season against Atlanta.
Right.
So we're running into a season where it's going to be all different. Shortened season, universal DH. Did they approve the expanded playoffs or no?
Good question.
I'm not sure if they approved the expanded playoffs, but I do know the bullpen rule is intact this year, that guys cannot just face one batter. They'll have to face multiple batters. So that's a big deal. If you have a lefty specialist, they might not get as big of paydays anymore, and they might not be as effective as they once were. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts about that one, being having to face more than just one batter?
Go ahead, Alex.
I think it's fantastic. I mean, granted, I get the whole matchup thing, but it really is a test for the manager to kind of juggle his roster and rotation accordingly, because you just can't use a lefty to face your lefty. You gotta have, if there's a lefty and then 2 righties after that, tough. You gotta play the cards.
Yeah, and I agree. I like the 3-batter rule. I'm going to throw a name out that you're familiar with, Tone, and that's Justin Wilson, who's in the Met bullpen now. Good cutter, good changeup, so he can pitch to both sides of the plate. Last thing I wanted to ask you guys, I want to open it up for what you think your teams are going to do. What do you think of the runner on second in extra innings?
Tones?
I don't know. I think it is called the California rule. So the California rule will be interesting. We've seen it in the World Baseball Classic the last time they were involved a couple of years back. I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember a particular game. I think it was Israel against Italy, and I seen it for the first time, and I was thinking, wow, I don't know how I feel about this, and I still don't know how I feel about it until I see it more, I guess. I guess for this season it's okay, but I don't know. I personally like those long baseball games. The 20-inning games are classics. They're great baseball games. That's what's beautiful about the sport. It's unpredictable. You don't know when the game's going to end. Why try and force the game to end early? Don't force it. Don't give them a unearned, undeserved runner on second base, in my opinion. That's kind of ridiculous. I don't know. That'd be like in football in overtime if you're starting at the 10-yard line or something. It's like giving you such a crazy advantage. It's a little crazy, but I don't know. I could see why they're doing it this year with COVID. Maybe try and get guys in and out quicker. Maybe not try and have them around one another as long as they might be. So this year I'm okay with it, but if it's for years to come, I don't appreciate the California rule.
Alex?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, I've come around to it just a tad bit, but I get it for logistics purposes and timeliness of games. You obviously don't want your game to go 4, 5, 6 hours. So they're doing it just because you're playing, 60 games in, I think, 66 or 70 days. So, they're doing it obviously too for ratings, to kind of keep people involved and interested. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but I can understand it from a time perspective and wanting to kind of move games along.
I wish they would have started him on first base, because then you still have the opportunity to get a double play, or a dribbler up the middle is not going to end a ball game.
Right.
If you start him on first base, it brings a stolen base into play, brings hit and run, it brings a double play into effect. It's just, I don't like second base. If you want to start a runner, start him on first. If you're on third and there's no pitcher hitting, you might as well, or on second there's no pitcher hitting, you might as well start him on third.
Yep.
So with you guys following your teams, the young players that they're keeping on this 40-man everyday roster and the 60-man shuttle squad, is there any young player on either the White Sox or the Cubs that bounces out to you?
Yeah, go ahead, Tones. Go ahead.
You could go first, Alex.
No, I was just thinking, I mean, obviously there's a whole lot of hype around Luis Robert. I know he's definitely going to be, from what I hear, he is that guy. So I'm interested to really see it. And I was watching video clips as well earlier today of him crank monster bombs G-rate field, as I like to call it now. I will not don it that entire long sentence of a name. But yeah, he's definitely going to be exciting to see for this year, and I would say years to come.
Yeah, I
They're
still
going to hit him behind Abreu?
What's it?
They're going to hit him behind Abreu?
Hit him behind, in front, wherever you want. I mean, there's going to come to a point where hopefully it'll be similar to like the Cubs, where who do you pitch to? Pick your poison, essentially.
Very good. Tone?
Yeah, and I think I still call guaranteed rate, U.S. Cellular, whatever you want to call it,
It's
Comiskey Park.
Comiskey. It's
I think
Comiskey.
yep, Comiskey Park. That's what we call it here in this household. At least, whatever you call it, they got great food. I always love going there for a game, nonetheless. But anyways, I think that White Sox lineup's going to be terrific. They got so much fantastic young talent in there. As Alex said, they kind of replicated the Cubs in terms of young talent, then adding veteranship when they're ready to win. So I think it'll be interesting this year. But for me, the Cubs got a little taste of this kid last year. I'm looking forward to Nico Horner. He showed a lot of potential last year. He could play a couple infield positions. He's versatile without Ben Zobrist, without Addison Russell in the picture now. He's going to get more of a chance to play. He's going to get more of a chance to prove himself. And he's a young pup, so I don't see this COVID stuff unless he, knock on wood, contracts it. Unfortunately, I don't see it being too big of a deal to him. So I'm excited to see what he could bring to the table, but I'm also excited from a pitching perspective. They didn't address the pitchers as much as I would like, so I'm excited to see what Elzaloy could bring back to the table this year. He had a little bit of a rough go last year in the majors. He had a few good starts to start and then got rocked. So I'm excited to see if he could be a fifth starter like the Cubs hoped he can.
Yeah, the Mets, it's Andres Jimenez, who's their middle infield prospect. I think Ahmed Rosario's either going to get traded or get moved, but this kid's ready. He hit really well in spring training down there. He's up here now. He's on the list of players that's going to go. He's quick. He has a Gold Glove caliber glove at shortstop. Listen, this is, I think, the year where you let the kids play at some point in time, just because I think it's going to take 35 wins to win a division.
Uh-huh.
That's a 35-25 record. 10 games over 500. If someone goes 40-20, just hand them the trophy, because that means they're on just a roll and they can keep it going.
Yep.
Do you guys see any teams running away with it like that?
I mean, I guess if I've seen one team run away with it, we know with this team, health is an issue, and I guess cheating has been lately too. But I think the Yankees are capable of doing that, if anyone is, just because they got Garrett Cole and now they're primed to make a run. Their lineup, there's no easy out in their lineup. I think the Red Sox got a lot worse in losing Mookie Betts. I think the Rays are good, but you never know with the Rays in a type of season like this. The Yankees have the veteranship to do well in a 60-game season, I believe. The Blue Jays aren't going to be much of a threat, but who knows? I guess any of these teams can. And, well, Baltimore is Baltimore. So they're going to be without Trey Mancini. I hope he gets well. Hats off to you, Trey. I know you're battling a lot right now. You're a heck of a ball player for Baltimore. But I just think the Yankees, if anybody, say the Yankees play Baltimore a bunch, say they play Toronto a bunch, say they play Boston a couple times, I think the Yankees are going to have the best chance to do a 40-20 type season.
What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I gotta stand right by that statement as well too. By Tones, Yankees kind of stand far and wide of ahead of everybody else, and that kind of pains me to say as an American League guy who has a team that that it's up and coming. But I would say the Yankees in the American League, and probably the Dodgers, as long as they don't lose anybody else in the National League, those would probably be my two horses. But I would say there's definitely teams that can surprise. Yeah, Atlanta, your guys, the Mets. Watch out for them, because you get on a heater, and that could be bad news for a lot of teams.
See, I disagree with the Yankees, and it's not because I root for the other side of town. It's twofold. One, in a shortened season, I think the pitchers are going to be farther ahead of the hitters, just like the beginning of spring training, what have you. That's a lineup where, they could, in a 162-game season, they could hit 140, 150 home runs between the middle three. but they'll strike out 650 times.
Yeah.
You don't have that room for error. And another thing, and I said this about him on my own show. I think I said it last time, and if I didn't, I'll say it now. This is the best thing that could ever happen to Garrett Cole. He was an ace in Pittsburgh, and you guys know the Central. He wasn't that great. He had good stuff, but he couldn't handle being the man. He blossomed when Verlander was the guy in Houston. Being the man in New York is a different animal.
Especially with that contract, yeah, you better live up to it.
And here's the thing. Met fans are walking around New York City right now using this line. Hey, how does it feel to pay $180 extra million for the second best pitcher in New York? He's got a 2-time Cy Young Award winner across town. He's not just playing for pinstripes and money. He now has to prove himself better than Jacob deGrom. Don't see it happen. If the Yankees offense gets hot, yes, they can go 40-20. But I think a team with more pitching balance to it, I can't believe I'm saying this. Guys, watch out for the Minnesota Twins.
I said that the other day on my podcast.
Josh Donaldson to that lineup, and they got pitching.
I think they're going to be terrible this year myself. I don't think that.
Serious?
Yeah, I don't see the Twins even sniffing the playoffs. I don't see them replicating anywhere near the success they had. I'd be shocked if they win 25 games in this shortened season. Honestly,
Wow.
They don't have the pitching. They don't have the veteran leadership. They just don't have anything to prove that they could make that type of run. They just don't. Any way you look at it, their pitching is not there. They just don't have anyone. No.
Yep, that I agree with you. If I had to pick my division winners, and I've already started thinking about this, so I'm going to actually throw them out to you guys now. The Yankees in the East, I like Cleveland in the Central. I think if Minnesota hits, they can get on a run, but Bieber, Clevenger, the Indians are stacked with pitching. To go with Lindor, Ramirez. I mean, we lost our boy Kipnis to you, Tone. But he's a Chicago boy. Yeah, and Houston in the West, as far as the American League goes. But yeah, I think the Central, unfortunately, Alex, I'm going to say this. I think this year the Central's a 2-team race between Cleveland and Minnesota. I think you guys are a year away, a year and a couple of arms away from wrestling the Central away. I think the Cubs are going to run away and hide, scarily enough. Because I don't think St. Louis has enough to keep up with them on either side of the ball. The Dodgers are going to run away and hide, and I hope I'm right, but I think the Mets are going to win the East. They're the deepest pitching rotation when you bring in Waka and Porcello to go with Stroman and Matz and DeGrom. Their offense now with the universal DH, you can flip-flop every bat in the lineup, left, right, and there's not a lot of teams that can do that right now. So if you want to make predictions, I know, Alex, you did a show. I haven't listened to it yet, and I'm sorry, but I will.
No worries.
If you want to make a prediction like that, what teams do you think have the best shot to get into this new playoff system this year? Or whatever it is.
Okay, so we're not going to division here. So I think teams who have a chance to get in. You know what? I'm gonna go. We'll start the American League first, and I'll go West East. West, obviously. Houston will win the division, but I think Oakland has a chance to kind of be sneaky. And I know they don't really have any household names. And Sean Manaea is coming off of Tommy John or some type of elbow surgery. So I think the A's can kind of be a little of a sleeper team. The Central, as much as this will pain me to say, Cleveland will probably win it. But I'm hoping that the White Sox have a chance to at least get in. I think maybe they'll just be right around 500, if not a tad bit over. I don't think they'll pull off anything super magical. So those are my two there. In terms of the East, probably the Yankees, and then my sleeper team, who I think can take it all the way, the Tampa Bay Rays.
Because they always pull something like that out.
Exactly. You know, you never suspect it. They're playing in a small market, but they got pitching, and they can also hit as well too. So
and they're used to playing in front of no one.
Exactly. So this is all too familiar territory for them.
Nothing changed for the Tampa Bay Rays.
No, exactly. And I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend any Tampa Bay Ray fan out there, but it's just a reality.
That it is. What about you, Tone? What do you think?
Okay, so in the AL, when I'm looking at things, I agree. I think I gave my opinion on the Twins. If anything, I think it's going to be Indians and White Sox fighting for that one. I think Indians come out by a couple game lead there. I think Terry Francona is the perfect coach to coach a team through this type of season, and I think guys like Bieber and Carrasco's coming back this year, so Carrasco will finally have a full off season of prep under his belt after his horrific blood disease last year. And they also have Clevenger, who's a very, very good pitcher. So I look for the Indians there. If not, the White Sox will be a close second. I think the Yankees, I spoke strongly of them. I'm going to roll with them. But as you guys said, you never know with the Rays. They could be competition for sure. I think we're all in agreement. The Astros, you give the AL West to the Astros just because of their success the past couple years and the roster they have. But as we said, look out for the Rangers, the Athletics, a couple of teams that should be a fun race. And I also think in the NL, we're looking at my surprise team of the year. Watch out for the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think they're going to come out with the best chances to win out of their
Really?
division. I think they have better chances than the Dodgers to come out victorious in there because they have the rotation that is the most slept on in baseball. They have Madison Bumgarner. They have Robbie Ray. They got Zach Gallen, a phenomenal young kid from Miami at the deadline last year. They have Luke Weaver, who was pitching great before he got injured last year. Those four horses could take you deep into any race right there. That is a good top four pitchers. They added Cole Calhoun to already a good lineup. Watch out for the Diamondbacks. So I think the Cubs will have a good chance in the Central. I think when you go to the East, I do like the Mets, and I think it'll be a 1-2 punch race between the Mets and the Nationals, only because there's so many question marks on the Braves right now with all these COVID cases and whatnot. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But as I said, sleeper of the year. Watch out for those Arizona Diamondbacks. It's Starling Marte coming in as well. I think he's going to win MVP in the NL.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I think he's going to win MVP. And rest in peace to Mrs. Marte. The love of his life passed away this
I
offseason.
saw
I
that.
think that's going to give him that much more motivation to come back. He's going to play for her. He's going to tear the cover off the ball between him, Madison Bumgarner, and Cole Calhoun. Hats off to the D-backs. They had a great offseason, if not the best in baseball.
That's a heck of an offseason. I forgot about Cole. I knew about Marte, and I was when you said the Diamondbacks, I'm like, oh, Marte. I forgot Cole Calhoun is no longer, the Red Baron flying off for the ball out in right field in Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
Sleeper team, to be honest with you, for me, crazy as this sounds, I love Oakland. I love Oakland. Matt Chapman is one of my favorite players. I didn't hear much about him before the Derby last year, so because of course with Alonso in it, I was locked in. But I like his swing. I like the fact that he is hitting bombs out of that ballpark, which is a pitching ballpark, if there's any a pitching ballpark left. Billy Bean always finds a way, and he always finds a way through the draft, through bottom free agents. Yes, Manaea's coming back from the injury. I don't think it was TJ. I think he just had his elbow done, but
Okay.
you got him, and we forgot about Fires.
Mm.
You got those two at the top of that rotation if Manaea's healthy. Listen, I think Oakland can do some damage. As far as other teams that can make a wild card run, yes, the Nationals could definitely do that. St. Louis, the White Sox. This sprint is going to be like nothing we have ever seen, man. I am so pumped. I can't wait till the 23rd. I hope we find out who your boys are going to open up with, too. That would be great.
I think it'll be Cubs Sox. I think it's Cubs Sox. I think it'll be exciting.
Let's see what MLB says since I keep both phones on me right here.
There you go. I was going to do the same thing too, actually.
Yeah, I'm basically looking to figure out what we got going on here. Of course, it's the old schedule, so I'll look at it later. So yeah, I would like to see that. I like the fact that we're only playing the Eastern. You're staying in your division as far as interleague goes, so we get the Yankees like 5 or 6 times.
Mm.
I can't wait. I know it's. I mean, you guys get pumped for the North Side South Side rivalry. We still get pumped for the Subway Series here in New York. I mean, this is just going to be. I can't even put into words how excited I am that I no longer have to watch them play the video games on Facebook Live or on YouTube
Oh,
anymore. Which, by the way, the Mets are in first place in the division in the simulations, and they took Syndergaard out of the rotation because of the injury.
That's pretty remarkable that they're able to be in first.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Jed Lowry apparently is going to play this year.
Well,
really?
I am shocked. The Mets have wasted money in the past, but this dude just takes the cake.
yeah.
He doesn't want to go into the diagnosis on his knee because he doesn't want it to be a distraction. And I saw somebody on Mets Twitter, which is a dark place, actually say, well, you wore scaffolding on your knee for a year and a half. Why don't you just tell us what's wrong with it?
The Mets have known to dish out. I mean, every team has. The Cubs dish out some too, but the Mets dish out money a little easily nowadays. But Lowry goes up there with the rest of them.
Yeah, him, Jason Bay.
Jason Bay.
Wow, that's a name right there.
I have trust issues because of Jason Bay's contract. Let's be honest. Best play he ever made was going headfirst into the wall in Dodger Stadium. I'm kidding.
Oh, man.
Man, ooh, harsh.
He was horrible.
He was.
Listen, Met fans, we're a weird bunch because if a guy has wronged us, we will speak ill of him till the day he goes. And if you have done us right, like David Wright did, you are, we're itching for you to be up on the, have your number retired up on the top of the ballpark. So one last thing I want to get your opinion on, then we're going to wrap this sucker up. We see it in the NFL every year with Washington. Now it looks like Cleveland is going to be pressured to change the name of the team. A little background. What I looked up, and I thought I had the player right, and I didn't. The Indians were actually named that way. They were the Cleveland Naps for Napoleon. It's either Lajoie or La Jolla. I can never remember how to pronounce his last name. Who was there for years. They were the Cleveland Spiders, and then a player by the name of Lou Sockalexis, who was a member of the Penobscot tribe in Maine, played for the Indians, and they actually named the team in his honor, quote unquote. Do you think they should change it? Are you some of the people who think that these teams need to do something? Because, I mean, you got the Tampa Bay thing in the background there, Tone, but the Redskins or Washington's looking to now change their name. It'll be minutes before Kansas City is going to be asked to do it. Atlanta just needs to get rid of the tomahawk chop, and I'm good. But Alex, you think they should change it?
I think so. I mean, I'm glad they've at least done their due diligence to get rid of the hat with the Chief Wahoo on their hats, and then the patch on their jerseys. So they've done some to kind of improve the image, but I am an advocate of them changing the name, as well as the Redskins, and even going as far as bringing up the Chicago Blackhawks, with their logo on their jersey, and they have they're probably one of the most iconic jerseys in sports, and it's a dicey subject, but it's got to be done because there's derogatory terms for these sports teams. Obviously, Redskins stands clear above everybody else, but yes, Indians and the Braves, like you said, the tomahawk chop, and the chant that they do when they score a run or hit a home run or win a game, gotta go.
Well, I'm biased because I just don't like Atlanta. Tone, what do you think, man?
I think the Redskins is understandable. You want to get rid of the Redskins, that's fine. Although I don't completely agree with that. You got to do what you got to do, I guess, when the people call for that. The Indians, I can't see at all. Where does the line stop then? The Buccaneers, the 49ers, the Packers, the Cowboys? Where do you stop the line? Vikings, you do research on all these teams. You can pick up plunges all day. Frick, we could have half the NFL get rid of their names. Get rid of the 49ers. And if you're going to get rid of the Indians, you got to get rid of the Packers, got to get rid of the 49ers, got to get rid of the Buccaneers, got to get rid of the Cowboys. You got to go. You got to go. So, no, this is overboard. It's crazy. Don't even get me started on this Indians talk. No.
Well, I can tell you this. I am on the fence, and I'll tell you why. One, I think some of it can be excessive. Redskins, okay. But they've been the Cleveland Indians since 1919, 1918, somewhere around there, over 100 years. Chief Wahoo, listen, you're talking about a guy who grew up on Major League and spent his formative years in Northeast Ohio. So Chief Wahoo to me is something that I still have a hat somewhere. It's the Chief Wahoo logo here and the 1997 World Series logo here. I get the derogatory term side of it. I do. I get it. At the same time, Tone, you have a good point. Where do you draw the line? I don't know. Do the Blackhawks get the protests?
No, that it hasn't happened yet, but I would imagine it will be a conversation down the road, and it will be a hard conversation to say the least.
Agreed. As far as changing the name of the other teams, like you were saying, Tone, I don't think you do the Buccaneers. The 49ers were named that way because of the gold rush from that year. The Cowboys, who cares? And the Packers were named after the packing plant in Green Bay, and the city owns the team, so they're not changing that either.
Right.
I personally think they should get rid of the Jets, but that's just me. And I'm a Browns fan, and that was named after a guy, so it's like...
Where do you stop? You could try and come up with anything. I've seen Chad Forbes, NFL Insider. He was 100% serious. He said we should investigate the Vikings, the Cowboys, and the Buccaneers because of, the images that Vikings and Buccaneers portray as, pirates. It's crazy.
When I think of the Vikings, I think of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's go right there first. When I think of the Buccaneers and what it portrays, I see a picture of Johnny Depp dressed as Jack Sparrow. I mean... It's just, when I think of the Cleveland Indians, I'll be honest with you, I don't think of the logo. I think of John Adams banging the drum in the bleachers in left field. I've met the man. I shook his hand. He's one of the greatest people you ever meet. I think of that. I think of hearing them called the Tribe and not even putting two and two together because they've just been the Tribe forever. Harry Doyle called them the Tribe. If you guys have the MLB app and you can never listen to it, Tom Hamilton, who does the radio broadcast for the Indians, is a great listen. It would just sound funny. But on the other side, I get it. I get why people have a problem with it. Well, listen, boys, it has been an absolute gem of an evening. I have had another blast. We're going to do this again probably around the halfway point of the season. We know there's going to be no All-Star game this year. 2022 will be in LA as opposed to this year. Where's next year? Is that
I think they moved LA to next year and then Atlanta 2022, if I'm correct.
That would make sense.
It would, but it's also Major League Baseball where the clown went on and said we were never going to play more than 60 games after saying the union was negotiating in bad faith. Yeah, we're headed toward a work stoppage next year.
I could see that coming.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm so tired of it all. Well, gentlemen, let the listeners and the watchers know exactly where you guys can be found, and then we're going to wrap this up.
Tones?
Alex, we'll start with you, sir.
Oh, okay. Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Row7Podcast. You see my name right there. You can find me at my new Instagram page, same handle, at Row7Podcast. You can listen to my podcast on Spotify and now on Apple Podcasts. So check me out, give me a follow, and thank you, Mike. Much appreciated. I definitely love talking baseball.
Anytime, boys. Tone?
Yeah, it's always fun. I love talking and discussing and going after baseball topics with you guys. I think we covered a great amount of topics tonight. It's all fun. It's all love. It's always a good time. You could follow me at Tricky Tones BGTE. You could follow my baseball podcast at Crackerjacks Pod. I love collaborating with Big Rican, Row 7. Any one of the TimesQ podcast networks, great. You could find Cardboard and Crackerjacks on Spotify, on Google Podcast, on Apple, on TimesQ's website. It's always a great time. I always love talking baseball with you guys. Looking forward to the next time.
Absolutely, and it will be probably about at the 30-game mark. We'll sit down and do this again on an off night for our team, so we're not wanting to watch the game at the same time. I want to say thank you again to both Alex and Tone. You got to understand, there are very few people I talk baseball with that have the knowledge and the passion that you guys do. One of them is usually on the phone with one of my best friends from Ohio, and the other one is a guy I work with, so it's not exactly the easiest thing to do. Big Rican on Sports can be found on timesq.com as a member of the TimesQ Podcast Network, Anchor, Google, Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, Instagram at Big Rican on Sports, Twitter at Big Rican on Sport, Facebook, on YouTube, which if you're watching us here. I will see you boys about the beginning of September.
Mm-hmm.
Sound about right?
Yeah.
Well, wait, hold on, fellas. What do we do if the season goes down? We don't want that, but what happens? Do we come back and talk then and there, or what?
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
I'm in.
Mr. Hockey Guy up sitting up on top of you on the screen here. We can figure out stuff to talk about the NHL too.
Oh yeah, we got Alex's great knowledge into hockey. I know you love basketball. We love football. Alex likes basketball, football as well. I think we could talk just about any sport if we want. Hell, let's talk cornhole. Let's talk hot dog eating contest. Let's talk chess, whatever we want.
First of all, hot dog eating contest. Joey Chestnut is a beast.
The best champion in all of sports, man. The best champion.
I actually watched a cornhole tournament on ESPN.
I saw that as well too.
Right? Did you see the clip of the guy playing bocce in Europe who like spun it in between 4 different other colored balls and got right next to the little one?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he did it.
That's crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen who are listening, you know we need our sports back when we're talking about cornhole, bocce, and Joey Chestnut obliterating Nathan's hot dogs. I will be back up next week with another episode of Big Rican. Guys, it's always fun. I will talk to you very soon. Have a great rest of your week and enjoy the warm weather, boys.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. You
Thanks,
too.
guys.